In this video, we're looking at using trigonometric formulas. These are the type of formulas that you find on the back of the Regents exam and on the reference sheets that you've been given. The reference sheet that looks like this one. And this problem says, find the exact value of the cosine of pi over 8. Now, to find the exact value of the cosine of pi over 8, I don't know what the exact value of pi over 8 is, but I do know the exact value of a pi over 4. Remember pi over 4? If you're not comfortable with the fact that these are in radians, feel free to convert them to degrees. In fact, I'll do that right here. Pi over 4, if I want to convert that to degrees, I'll multiply that by 180 over pi. Because you see here is the degrees on top, the radians on the bottom. It'll cancel out with the radians, and we'll get a nice value in degrees. See, these pi's will cancel out, and we're left with 180 over 4. 180 divided by 4 is 45, and so that means that pi over 4 is the same thing as 45 degrees. So, why is this useful? Well, the reason this is useful is because we know, or we should know, the cosine of 45 degrees is exactly radical 2 over 2. Since the cosine of 45 degrees is radical 2 over 2, that means that the cosine of pi over 4 radians is also radical 2 over 2. The cosine doesn't care whether you're using degrees or radians. Make sure your calculator is on the correct one for the problem you're doing, though. Good. So, we want to find the exact value of pi over 8. Well, how does pi over 8 relate to what we know? If you think about it for a while, you'll see that pi over 8 is equal to 1/2 of pi over 4. See this? 1 times pi is pi, and 2 times 4 is 8. And so 1/2 of pi over 4 is indeed pi over 8. Why is that useful? Well, it's useful because whenever we know the cosine of pi over 4, we should be able to get the cosine of pi over 8, which is what it's asking us to find, by using the formula that relates half angles to whole angles. Take a look at your reference sheet and look at where it says functions of a half angle. Right here it says the cosine of 1/2 a is equal to plus or minus the square root of 1 plus the cosine of a divided by 2. That will be a useful formula for us here. I'll write that formula down so it's easy for you to see. The cosine of 1/2 a is equal to plus or minus the square root of 1 plus the cosine of a, and then the whole thing divided by 2. So to get the cosine of 1/2 of the angle, which is what it's asking for, we just need to know the cosine of the angle, which we do know. We know the cosine of pi over 4, so let's use the cosine of pi over 4 in this formula to find the cosine of pi over 8, which is 1/2 of pi over 4. So here we can write this out. We get the cosine of pi over 8 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 1 plus the cosine of, that's that pi over 4. Here's our square root of 2 over 2. And then this whole thing is divided by 2. Let's simplify what we have here. So this is equal to plus or minus the square root of. I'm going to get a common denominator. So this is 2 over 2 plus radical 2 over 2. And then the whole thing divided by 2. So this is plus or minus the square root of 2 plus radical 2. This is 2 plus radical 2 over 2, the whole thing divided by 2. This is a fraction on the top divided by a fraction. So this is 2 over 1, so it's like a fraction on the bottom. The way you deal with that is by multiplying by the reciprocal. So we get plus or minus the square root of 2 plus radical 2 over 2, and then times 1/2, right? Times 1/2 because here's your 2 plus radical 2 over 2, right there, times the reciprocal of 2 over 1, which is 1 over 2. So this becomes plus or minus the square root of 2 plus radical 2 over 4, right? And now we can take the radical of the top and the radical of the bottom, so we end up with plus or minus the square root of 2 plus radical 2, and then this whole thing divided by radical 4, which is just a 2. Now how about this plus or minus? Well, the plus or minus, let's see, we're talking about pi over 8. And pi over 8 is half of pi over 4. We said pi over 4 was the same thing as 45 degrees. 45 degrees right here. And so that means that pi over 8 is half of 45 degrees. And so we're definitely in the first quadrant. And since we're in the first quadrant, we should go with the positive right here. So we're going to say that the cosine of pi over 8, that's the same thing as the cosine of 1/2 times pi over 4. And that's the same thing as the positive square root of 2 plus radical 2 all over 2. Here is our final answer.